Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Hi. Hello and welcome to episode 28, The Power of Telepathic Communication. In this episode, Tony and I talked about how you can use telepathy in everyday communication if you really wanted to. We use it with our dog and we use it with each other, and it's very interesting to really tune into this psychic awareness because it will benefit all of your relationships in your life. We can't wait for you to listen to the show. Enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. We are talking all about telepathic communication, telepathy.
Yes, and I feel like we always use that with Romeo. That's like the biggest way that we communicate with our dog, and it's probably the biggest way you communicate with your dog or your animals as well.
Right, and it's actually kind of fun to play around with that telepathic communication. And if you're hearing this for the first time, you're probably wondering, what is that? It's really just sending thoughts, emotions, all different types of feelings to another human being or an animal, any living thing. So there's telepathic communication happening every single day. Every moment that you're thinking things about someone, I feel as though there's some sort of telepathic connection that is ignited.
There is, and especially for highly empathic people, highly intuitive people that are sensitive to energy and other people's emotions, they feel it extremely, to extreme levels, just like how me and you do. And we actually can send it very strongly as well, I feel, because the more you're able to do the energy exchange where you're letting it flow, the more power you have actually. Right.
So for empathic people, you're going to pick up on people's emotions, whether you want to or not. And if you are highly sensitive soul too, you may feel sorry for someone when you walk into a room. For some reason, you're maybe picking up that they're feeling sad, and you may feel very sorry for them. And your senses are heightened in that way. And you could give them that feeling of, there's something that feels off about this person just because you feel sorry for them. Right? If they're extra sensitive too, and it could work the other way also.
Yeah, that's why it's extremely important to be aware of what energy are you sending off every second.
Yeah.
Because if you're aware of that, then when things happen in front of you and they manifest and people act a certain way in front of you, well, you could make the connection. And a lot of times it's because you were feeling in like a bad way or a negative, lower frequency, which causes a certain effect.
Right, and I'm thinking about whenever Tony and I are either hungry or there's something happening, whether it's about like directions in the car and I'm annoyed with him, I stay silent and I don't want to talk about it, I just want 10 minutes. And Tony's like, stop shooting those vibes at me. I'm like, I just want to be silent. I'm not trying to do anything, I'm just feeling. Let me feel without picking up on it. It's like the problems of two empaths put together, you feel everything. So I think it's interesting that, it's a natural thing. You will pick up on other people's feelings. Even if you're just miserable yourself for a moment, we feel each other's stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like everybody's always using telepathic communication. Mm-hmm. And when you hear the words, you think it's some bizarre thing. When in all reality, if you think about your closest friends, you know what they're going to say before they say it, and you know exactly what they're thinking. And a lot of times you're thinking the same thing because you're so in tune with each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more in tune we get with everybody around us, the more we can instantly start to communicate telepathically.
Yes. I feel like my mom and I always do this. I know she always says when she listens to the podcast, she always hears her name being brought up, but here's another example. She will call me on the phone, or I'll pick up my phone and all of a sudden she's there. And she's like, wait, what just happened? Who called who? Because we do it at the same time. So we're very connected in that way.
Right.
And even with my sisters too, I feel like that kind of pops up.
Yeah, I think it's anybody that you're really connected with and in tune with and building a relationship with, you're going to it's like a non-stop of telepathic communication going on.
Yeah.
And the more you're kind of in harmony with each other and receptive to each other, the more you're going to communicate with each other
more
without even talking on the phone or without even being in the same state. Because that's another thing too, is it doesn't matter what country you're in or what state or city, I feel like you could communicate telepathically with somebody even if you're somewhere over in Europe and they're in the United States.
Yeah. You
can communicate telepathically. We have that potential to where, and you can practice with somebody. If you have a friend that's over in Europe and you're in the United States or vice versa, you can practice with them, hang up the phone and just send each other thoughts and then write it down and then just see if you're in tune or if you're even close. And you may be way off at first, or maybe you're at a different level to where you're already very good at this.
Right. And you actually, I'm thinking of Tony because before we even met, he was sending me healing energy through my photo. So he saw my photo on Facebook and he just got this instinct to do it. And he was sending me healing energy, and it was like at a time that I needed it. We found out after. It was at the perfect time.
Yeah, and when we first met each other, I'm sure you felt it just how I felt it. Like the connection that we had, and we were both sending each other, it was like loving vibes because it was before we even met. So a lot of you that have watched the previous episodes, you know the whole story behind that. And so it was before we even met, and I was in St. Louis and Lindsay was in Tampa, but I could feel the energy that you were sending me. And we were communicating telepathically, even though I was in St. Louis and you were, what, 1,200 miles away in Tampa.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to really become aware that this is always happening.
Right.
And that's the reason why it's so important to, when you're not around certain people, not to just talk about people all the time.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with people, just speak it to them, because even if you talk behind their back,
they will feel it.
They will feel it and they will know, and it will change your relationship, even though they'll never even physically know that you said it.
Exactly. And you may find yourself, if you're doing that, repelling certain people. And especially if you're listening to this, because I'm sure everyone listening is highly sensitive anyways. So you just need to become aware of it. And also vice versa. If you feel as though you're feeling this moment of something doesn't feel right. Nobody said anything, but I don't feel the same feeling. Trust that. But not just focusing on the negative, focus on the positive. Does it make you excited to think about, your friend, and they haven't said anything to you recently, but you get excited to communicate with them? And then you pick up the phone, they're like, that's so funny, I was just talking about you. So it happens. It happens all the time. So you, like Tony said, you can practice sending images back and forth. You can practice sending energy if people are open to it, you and your friends. And imagine a color you're sending to them to a certain body part, or or to their mind, and figure out different ways to practice. But it's good to have someone that you could build up that communication and that trust. The more you do it, the more practice you have with sending feelings, thoughts, emotions, images, words, you're going to get stronger in that psychic sense too.
Right, especially if you're practicing from far distances, and then it's going to make it that much easier whenever you're at the workplace or at home with your husband or wife, and you'll be able to communicate positively or harmoniously with your co-workers or your husband or wife, to where when you're communicating telepathically, you're able to build a harmonious relationship by always bringing more of like a positive frequency to the relationship.
Yeah, that's so true. And when we're talking about this, it doesn't mean like you're tuning into their energy and psychically tuning in without their permission. You can actually send them energy. You can send them beautiful images, whatever it may be. And also, with Romeo, our dog, sometimes he's looking up right now at us. You can't see him in the shot right now, but he's such a cutie. We'll look at him and not really say much and just look him in the eye, and you feel like you're staring into someone's soul. Yeah. His little soul is in there, and he feels our love. He
does, and he knows what we're doing before we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of your animals. If we're going to leave, he knows 10 minutes before we leave that we're leaving, because our energy shifts. And then you look in his eye, and he starts to look at us different, like he's mad at us.
Yeah, you could feel it.
And it's because we're communicating telepathically with him with our energy.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a faster form of communication. And
Yes.
that's a way to really sense where somebody's truth, where their heart is, and what the real deal is in a situation. And then you're better able to then use your words in a more productive way, because you're understanding the conversation from a deeper perspective.
Right. It just made me think of something, because I'm raising my hand as something that I need to work on, and hopefully by the time this episode's out, I've worked on it a little bit more. But sometimes I get, like, I have my mind in like 10 different directions, so I could be talking and having a conversation with Tony, and I can communicate with him and listen to him and respond to him, but at the same time I'm thinking of something else, so he doesn't feel like I'm listening, because I'm not giving him that energy, that attention. Even though I'm saying yes and I'm processing the words, I'm not feeling into it like I could. So sometimes that happens to me, and I feel like that's like a telepathic thing, like my mind is someplace else. So it's something to work on for me personally, and just be aware of that, you know, this day and age we're so distracted with, you know, Facebook and all different forms of social media and technology, TV, that our head can be at a totally different place, or our heart can, when we're talking.
Right, and that's a big thing, because I do the same thing.
I know,
I'll be
I get
listening
really
with my
annoyed
brain,
too.
but my energy's not listening to her because I have my focus somewhere else.
And we both say
And that's, you're really not listening if you're listening in that way. It's a bad form of listening. So you want to listen with all of your energy and give people that energy so they feel it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what causes a lot of arguments in relationships, is people might be listening with their head, but they're not listening fully with their entire being, and that and the other person feels that, and then it causes the fight. And then the person that's listening with just their brain, they're like, well, I'm listening, but they're not truly fully listening.
Right, and I think this podcast, actually communicating like this, is actually good, because we have to listen to each other.
Yeah, it's good practice for us.
It really is good practice. So I think it's funny how everything...
Yeah, we're not perfect at it, but it's one of those things that you have to be honest where you're at, and then go from there, and we're getting better at it. That's one thing.
Definitely. And babies too, telepathic communication between babies, between you and babies, is so important. We don't have kids ourselves right now, but I know that there are a lot of mothers that sometimes come to me for readings, and their babies can't speak at that point, and they want me to psychically tune in and see what their child needs, or even their animals need. And it's me communicating with them through psychic, tuning in psychically, and I'm just picking up on their thoughts. So if you want to relax your baby, you can actually send the baby different thoughts, and receive. Be open to receive that information and that communication from them. Look into their eyes and see what comes up.
Exactly, because that's exactly how babies communicate, is through only telepathic.
Yeah.
Because they haven't developed their language yet, their physical language, so that's their only go-to. And when you look at a baby, you can feel it.
You can.
And you feel their loving energy, and then you look them in the eye and make that eye contact, they recognize you. And then you start to communicate, even though it might be like a subtle form of communication, but you could feel the rapport.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important too, when you think that, oh, that baby's just little, too little to understand. When they start to grow up, they will feel the energy from when they were, 1 week old, that communication, that energetic exchange between you and the baby. Like, I have my niece Savannah. She is like
that's what I was thinking of when I was saying it.
Yeah, we're thinking of the same person, same little person, and she is this cutest little earth angel. She was born very early, 4 pounds, and I don't know how many ounces, but she's healthy and she's fine now. And you just look at her and she kind of laughs at you. Like, she has a sense of humor, even though she's only a couple months old now. She's 3 months old. But she'll remember that energy. So even if we're in Florida and she's in Massachusetts, when we come back, she's going to sense that familiar feeling and that love.
Exactly. And the more we build that rapport with her and give her that time and energy, just how you would do with anybody, the more she remembers it, and the stronger the bond is. That's how bonds are created, is through rapport.
Right.
And you can have it telepathically, and you can have it physically with your words.
Right.
And or you could express it physically with your words.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, when people have new babies in the family, like I always say, like, oh, I don't know if I should change her right now because I don't want her to cry, or I think you'd be better at it. The animals, the babies actually sense that hesitant feeling, that energy of being fearful or hesitant to do it, and they'll start to cry, and they'll sense that. So I realized that when I was about to change my nieces, like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm giving the thoughts of relaxation and being calm and peaceful, that this is fine for me to, you know, I don't need to be nervous. They're going to be fine. I'm going to change them quickly, and it's going to be good. Because you can easily, I know you don't like to change any diapers.
No.
But it's that little detail of paying attention to your thoughts when you're communicating, especially with the little children. Because that is instilled in them too. Not to fear it, but to be aware.
Yeah, because they're totally soaking in all of your energy. So in the same way that Romeo is, he's over there sleeping right now.
I know. I think we're putting him.
But that's the thing. So we could go ahead and give them a couple of
action steps
they can take to develop their
telepathic
communication and use it for a positive impact in their life. So that way you can bring it to your relationships, you can bring it to work, you can bring it to whatever you're doing every second of your life. Because if you get your energy right, everything else always falls into place after that.
It does. And if you can get a partner, I would say that my first suggestion is to get a partner you could practice with. If you practice with them, it's going to build up your confidence over time for your own psychic awareness.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. But no, that's one of the best things they could do is get somebody and even sit, you know, right next to each other and send each other thoughts and energy. Me and Lindsay, we were just doing this, like a week ago in the car?
Yeah.
I was saying, hey, send something to me, and I got it right, 3 times in a row?
Yeah, you did.
I did.
It was kind of scary.
She was sending me either thoughts of a certain kind of food or whatever it was, and I 3 times in a row, because when I'm driving, it's easier for me to tune into my intuition. So you could sit across from somebody, and they can send you thoughts or send you the energy of what they want you to think about, and then practice your telepathic communication that way.
And we actually did that in Mavis's class. Like, we had to, Mavis the medium, we had to send each other thoughts and images. And it was really cool. It's actually harder than you think when you first start out, and then once you build up the energy, it's pretty easy. But if you have someone that you're really connected to, it's easier, I feel. Yeah,
and it's very subtle, so it's easy to miss. You really have to be, relax yourself, be poised, and then just allow it to happen. So it will take practice, but of course, every time you practice it, you will get a little better at it. And it gets easier, and it's fun, and it's one of the most valuable skills, really, you can have for your life, I believe.
What's another thing?
I
think it would be fun for them to send songs to each other. So maybe you send song lyrics, or you choose from 4 songs, and they have to feel what's that feeling they're sending me? What song is that? So you can choose from 4 different songs and say to your friends, okay, I'm going to choose out of one of these. See if you can feel what the feeling is and what song that goes with. That would be a good one.
I like that.
So it's just getting creative with this and really sticking with your partner. Stay with your partner and keep on practicing, just doing a little at a time. There's a bunch of apps out there. I don't know the names of them right now, but if you just type in psychic practice or telepathic communication or something like that in your phone, you can actually practice some psychic games on apps. So it's really fun. But we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope that you keep on practicing your telepathic communication. It will benefit every area of your life.
All right, we will see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's yours. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.